The MLB season appears to be set to be 60 games this season, starting at the end of July, ending at the end of September. And the big question now is, who are the best players to target from a fantasy perspective that do good at the beginning of seasons? Now, granted, we're in the second half of the baseball season here. It is still the first half of baseball for these guys this season. So we're going to go over 5 players that are the best players at starting the season off hot from a consistent basis, that are widely, top 10, top 20, top 30 overall picks here. Some of the best players to go after. We'll also do a video on some of the deeper guys in the draft that have a great season as well later on. But starting off this list is none other than the great one, Mike Trout. Trout's 28 home runs in 2019, his 25 home runs in 2018 put him in the top 5 for home runs in the first half in each of those respective seasons among players. He's the only guy in the league to hit 25 bombs in the first half of each of the last 2 seasons. And not to mention, his 71 runs in 2019 were 3rd best in the league, and his 71 runs in 2018 were 6th best in the league. The only player to do better in the past 2 respective seasons was Mookie Betts, finishing 1st and 2nd in runs over the past 2 respective seasons. Key to note as well, all stats brought up today will be stats from a first half, second half perspective. It's no cumulative stats over the entire season, just a first half, a second half, going straight down the list. Just to clarify that, that's why the numbers do sound lower. But you throw in the fact that Mike Trout has hit over 300 in each of the last 2 seasons, has had nearly double the RBIs in the first half of the season opposed to the second half of the last 2 seasons. He's stolen 8 bases and 15 bases respectively. There's no better lock, in my opinion, for a strong first half of the season than the one they call Mike Trout. Then we have Charlie Blackmon. If you're looking for a guy from a pure batting average perspective, I don't know if it gets much more consistent than Blackmon. It's obvious, worth noting, got to make sure the Rockies are playing in Colorado. They're playing at Coors. That's a big impact here for a guy like Blackmon. Night and day different stats at home and on the road. Important they do play in their home ballparks. It appears that's the case. We got a month and a half, about a month and a half where he can change, but that appears to be the case. But Blackmon, 2019, he batted .330, 20 home runs, 57 RBI, 67 runs. 2018, .334. 14 home runs, 37 RBI, 70 runs, 6 stolen bases as well. 2017, 30-16, 20 home runs, 61 RBIs, 72 runs. Again, 8 stolen bases there. Blackmon has been as consistent gets on batting over .315 in the first half of seasons. He's thrown some power in there as well over the course of the years there. Blackmon's a beautiful guy here, not to mention a guy that's part of a potent offense who's always going to get those RBI looks, always going to get those run looks, as long as he's batting in the middle of that order, not the top of the lineup, of course. Loving Blackmon here. Staying with the Colorado Rockies theme here, Nolan Arenado. Over the past 3 seasons, there have been 22 times a player drove in 67 or more runs in the first half of the season. 3 times it was by the same player. That player, Nolan Arenado. No other player in the league has done it more than once in the past 3 seasons. Arenado has also averaged 20 home runs each of those 3 seasons, with an average right around 310 over those 3 seasons in those first halves as well. Obviously, he's not your stolen base guy, but he can cover a lot of categories for you here, and he's a guy you can feel comfortable taking with in the first round. Sliding over to the pitchers, we have Max Scherzer. 2019, in the first half, he had a 2.3 ERA, 12.6 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's opposed to his 4.81 ERA in the second half of last season. Granted, now keep in mind, he didn't only play half the amount of games in last season, so that could have weighed 1 or 2 bad starts. But in 2018, 2.41 ERA, 0.89 whip, 12.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. 2017, 2.10 ERA, 12.1 strikeouts, 0.779 whip, versus again that 3.24, 1.12 in the second half there. For Scherzer, a lot of the woes come in September for him over these last few years, and it makes sense. He's a strikeout pitcher. Maybe his stuff just ain't as good in September. He's getting older. Maybe he's just, the fatigue starting to set in a little bit on that arm as well. So it makes sense. But when you look at Scherzer, what matters the most here with Scherzer, you look at his stats in June for the last 3 years: 2.31 ERA, 1.00 ERA, 0.99 ERA, all in the month of June. You look at May, not near as good as June. June is clearly this guy's best month in recent years, but you look at May, 2.27 ERA, 2.21, 2.37. The guy has been absolutely phenomenal in the months of May and in the months of June, and you consider that's it. That's September, right? If there's some sort of playoff format coming in or end of season, he's gonna be at his best right there from a fantasy perspective, and you have to feel really good about taking a guy like Max Scherzer as your number one pitcher. And finally, we will hit the relievers market here. I think your top guy here from a reliever standpoint should be no questions asked, Aroldis Chapman. In 2019, this guy had a 1.82 ERA, 1.09 whip, 13 strikeouts per 9 innings. Again, that's versus second half stats of 2.82, 1.1 whip, and a 14K per 9 innings. You look at 2018, 1.35 ERA in the first half of the season, 0.825 whip. Again, versus the 6.35 in the second half. And it is more important for Chapman here is, again, you probably, we talked about Scherzer the later you get into the year. Same can be said about Chapman for a different reason, because Chapman's throwing over 100 all the time, 99, 100. You can see that velocity drop off just slightly at the end of the season, and maybe that affects him a little bit, but that's gonna not be the case again this year, because it's a shortened season. Expect Chapman to be at his best, and more importantly, when you go into the season, you're taking a reliever. You want to look at teams that are going to give you maximum save opportunities. I think going into this season, you say Yankees and you say Dodgers, right? And the Dodgers got Jansen, who's, been great in his career, but he didn't quite put up the same numbers that Chapman's put in these last couple of seasons. For that reason, you look at a guy that's a dominant pitcher, going to get a lot of save opportunities. I think Chapman is your go-to guy here, but that's our 5 players. Again, we'll go into a, outside of the top 100 type of players, great seasons in a future video. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.